Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it might be where you're at right now. Welcome to the Facebook Live video tonight. Where I'm at, it is technically about 7 o'clock in the evening. But I know this is kind of a different time. I usually do daytime Facebook Lives, but decided to mix it up a little bit, do an evening one. I'm sure that I'll get different people on here tonight that I have at different times of the day. Like I always ask, I love the interaction. So if you're out there and you're on here, I see some people on already. If you could just say hello, I greatly appreciate that. Love the energy going back and forth between everybody that's on these and myself. It just makes it for a lot more fun time. And so would definitely like to see some of you guys saying hello. Love the comments. What I find really interesting about the comments, and these people know who they are. They sometimes will have their own little chat going on between them and somebody else in the chat box, which is kind of funny. But that's okay as long as everybody's having a good time learning some stuff. Love to have you guys say hello and chat out on the chat box. That would be greatly appreciated. Tonight, a couple of housekeeping things. Obviously, I'll talk more about the summit that we have going on this coming weekend. We're down to the point right now where it's kind of the last chance to get signed up for that. So I'll say that before we get off here today, or tonight, should I say. So I'll talk more about that in just a minute. I thought it was interesting. A couple of my business partners, I was telling them they need to go on and do some Facebook Live videos. And they were saying how much of a challenge it was. Hey, Peter, how you doing? They were saying how much of a challenge it was. And I guess, you don't even think about it sometimes, but every one of us has different skill sets. And my business partner said it was to literally do a 3 or 4 minute Facebook Live. It took them 3 hours because they had to get up the courage to do it. They had to do all these different things. And I know I've never been active on social media until about the last 60 days. Not even that, quite frankly, probably about 40 days. And so it definitely is to get out of your comfort zone. But the comment was, just it's tough to just sit there and talk because you don't have really any interaction back and forth between anybody on the call or yourself. And that's why I always like to have you guys saying some stuff in the chat box so that I can interact with you and get to know you guys a little bit more. We talked a lot about rapport the other day. Oh, Michelle, all the way from Wichita. We're pretty close, actually, to you guys. But anyway, talked a lot about rapport the other day, and that's how you build rapport is you get to, you talk back and forth to people. Somebody asked me if this one was going to be done on Zoom. I think Peter might have asked me that question. I tried to do this on Zoom the other day, and we got about halfway through, I think, and then we got I don't know what the right word is. We got Rebecca. How are you doing? Love Rebecca said a really cool thing, or made a comment on Facebook, and I loved it about the next president. Because you're going to be all right either way, Rebecca. We're gonna look. I want to talk about that in just a second. But yeah, we got bombed on Zoom. I don't even know what the right word is, but it wasn't good, and I had to turn that off. So and I'm sure there's a better way to do it with passcodes and things like that, but. I just thought I'd just go with the straight Facebook tonight, so I don't have any issues with getting bombarded with a lot of outside people. Hey Gary, how you doing? And so Rebecca was making a comment, or she made a comment. And I said this on a call last time, was that I'm never going to get into politics when we get into this, and all I hear right now on the news, on social media. That's one of the reasons I didn't want to do social media stuff, was because there's just a lot of politics on there and everybody has an opinion. There's an old saying, opinions are like, and you can fill in the blank, everybody's got one. And so the really thing for me is I have no desire to get into the politics side of it. I will say this, it doesn't matter, what your opinion is. I'm not going to get my opinion out there. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to say this, though, no matter who the next president is, I'm going to be okay because I'm going to react to it. I'm going to do the best I can in my business, no matter who the next president is. I started buying property in 2002 when W was the president. Obama came the president in 2009. We were still buying property in 2017. Trump became the president. I was still buying property. That's one of the businesses that we're in. So, I'm not sure who the next president is going to be. It's either going to be, it depends on who you talk to, I guess, Trump or Biden. And I'm going to still keep buying property, still keep doing that kind of stuff. So the nice part about sales is it doesn't matter who the president is, you're still going to have that business. And the one thing I will think more than anything, Mr. Maggio, how are you doing? The one thing about sales is when the market goes down, when we start having recessionary times and people are losing their jobs, and man, I read about the flight attendants and all the airline pilots, 20,000 pilots here, or people here, 50,000 or 30,000 people somewhere else. I think that there's going to be just, and that's just one industry. What about the hotel and restaurant industry? Those industries are just smacked right now. Convention industry. I used to go to hotel rooms or ballrooms and hotels at least twice a month, and I haven't been in one of those now since March. So that whole industry has changed, and we can talk about all the reciprocal businesses right on down the line. And so when markets change, sales becomes even more important, because you're going to basically eat what you kill. And we've been talking about sales for the last 40 days. And one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was the questions to ask. And I know Matt's doing some stuff online right now. And the whole thing about questions, they go right back into the rapport building that we talked about on our last call yesterday. If you can start building rapport, it's about asking questions. I know a lot of people are scared to ask for the sale. And the sad part about it is asking for the sale is no different than any other question. If I wanted to get to know a little bit more about Gary or Rebecca, I would just start asking some questions. Well, where are you from? What do you do for a living? Do you have a family? Whatever it may be. What's important to you? And we can keep asking those questions over and over and over again. And that's how you build rapport. That's how you find commonality. That's how you find predictability. Now, those are the types of questions we should be asking. Now, depending upon what you're going to be selling, if it's a product, so let's say you're trying to sell a phone. So you're trying to sell a phone. So you may start asking the customer, instead of talking about the great features and benefits of this iPhone, whatever it is, I don't know, iPhone something. I get a lot of people want to start telling me the features and benefits. So instead of them asking me questions about what I want in a phone, the conversation becomes very one-sided. And they say, well, this has got a great camera, and this has got this feature and that feature. And it's got all the different bells and whistles. And so instead of asking me, well, what do you need in a phone, Pip? What they start to do is they start talking about features and benefits. So always lead with questions. If you lead with questions about the person, if you lead with questions about their wants, about their desires, then you're going to get the answers that you want. And more importantly, it's going to be much easier to ask for the sale. If I do a one-sided conversation with Matt Maggio on this call right now, and I tell him how great this phone is, and at the end of all the times that I tell him how great this phone is with all the different features and benefits it has, as soon as I get done with that, then I got to ask him a tough question. Well, Matt, do you want this phone? That's a tough question, because he could very well say no. But if I say, Matt, what are you looking for in a phone? And he starts giving me these different, Matt, is the size of the phone matter? Are you one of these guys that want a bigger screen so that you can watch more videos on it? Matt, are you a guy that wants maybe a little smaller phone so that you can put it in your pocket? Matt, are you one of these people that want a phone that, has, the different video features or multiple cameras on it? And so what we have to understand is that the customer will tell us exactly what they want. They will tell us exactly what they want if we ask the right questions. But unfortunately, we get so caught up in the sales game of talking about these are the features and this is the benefit to you, Matt, instead of just asking, Matt, what are you looking for in a phone? I'm always amazed when you go into a clothing store, a car dealership, and the people, open-ended questions. Jared Hendershot, man, there's a blast from the past. Haven't seen you or heard from you in forever. And so the thing about it is that when we're looking at these types of things, I think a lot of times what people do is they will not ask the questions, or they will be scared to tell people they're in sales. A lot of you guys, I stood up in front of you and I sold you a program on investing in real estate. And if you asked Michelle or Rebecca or Matt Maggio, heard this 1,000 times, I would stand up in front of a group of people and I'd say, how many of you guys think I'm going to sell you something this weekend? Never hide it. Be right up front with people, and they're going to respect you for it. It's okay. See, if I was working at a car dealership, if I was working at a clothing store, or wherever somebody walks into the store, if Jared walked up to me and he's the customer, what does the salesperson usually say? Can I help you find something? Well, that kind of thing. What are you looking for? And what does the customer inevitably say? No, I'm just looking. I'm just looking. Well, most of the time, what I think most salespeople do in that instance and say, well, if you need anything, I'm over here. Come ask me. I think one of the most important things you should do, Matthew, how are you doing, my friend? One of the most important things you should do is tell people right up front you're in sales. So if Jared said, I'm just looking, I say, well, Jared, my name is Pip. I'm in sales. I'm looking to help you get into a better car or a new car tonight. Maybe not a better car, a new car tonight. I would love to help you do that because that's how I feed my family. And I would appreciate helping you because at the end of the day, if we help each other get what we want, we're going to have everything we want in this world. And so that's how I would totally put it out there. Would never hide from it. Anytime I had somebody ask me if I'm in sales, darn right I'm in sales. Every day in every way, in every conversation you have, you're selling yourself. And if you don't think you are, then you're missing a lot of opportunities. If you're a teacher, you're selling that education. If you're a music teacher, what are you selling? You're selling the love of music. And I've been talking a lot about that with the types of things that we've been going over the last few weeks. And so I think it's imperative you all understand, everybody in this business, it's okay to be in sales. When somebody tells me, I go, what do you do for a living? They say, I'm a pastor. And I always make the joke, oh, you got a really tough sales position, don't you? And every pastor I've ever said that to just laughs at me. They're like, yeah, it's pretty tough. I think we need to realize that we're all in sales. And I've been saying that now for the last however many Facebook Lives that I've done. I've said it at least 100 times probably. We're all in sales and it's okay. Don't ever hide it. Don't ever be afraid of it. Because if you go out and you need something, you need somebody to sell it to you. So some friends of mine sell life insurance, mutual funds, things like that. And I think life insurance salesmen get one of the worst reputations out there. They're only a little bit above the used car salesman in the pecking order. And somebody who sells life insurance, they got a tough job. But I've actually been in offices when somebody actually had to cash in their life insurance policy, meaning their spouse died. And I cannot share with you how hard that situation is, but that person who sold them the insurance was doing them a great service because at the time of their most need, their spouse passed away. And we're talking small town Nebraska City. I don't say it every time I'm on here, but I probably should. I saw it happen. And the guy died way too young. He was in his 50s. He died of cancer. But the fact that my friend had sold him a nice insurance policy, his family was going to be taken care of. Kids were going to have the college education paid. They're going to be able to keep the house and pay it off. All the things that if you said tomorrow, if you could win the lottery, what would you do with the money? A lot of people would say, I'd pay off my house. I'd take care of my kids' college education. Obviously, when somebody in your life passes away, that's not winning the lottery. That's losing the lottery. But as long as you understand that somebody sold them a policy that enabled them to do what? Go on with their lives in the best way they possibly could. If somebody doesn't do that, that family's in a world of hurt. So I think it's important that we all see it's okay to be in sales. Because most of the time, when you want a nice new car, somebody sold that to you. When you want a nice pair of shoes, when you want a nice suit, whatever it is that you want, somebody sold that to you. And that's okay. That's okay that somebody's in sales. Now, the one thing I think that is a little bit interesting is that, and I did a lot of stuff with a guy by the name of Robert Kiyosaki. And Robert Kiyosaki, if you know who I'm talking about, a guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was an independent contractor for him for a long time. He said that sales is by far the one skill. He's a lot smarter than I am. He says that sales skill is one of the most important skills you need. In fact, he went to work for IBM years ago, back in the 70s, when IBM was a big, big company, just to learn how to sell. Because what he always would talk about, he had a rich dad and a poor dad. His poor dad was a guy who was in charge of the Department of Education for the state of Hawaii. So he had plenty of traditional education. But he didn't know anything about sales. Even though he was in sales every day, he didn't know he was in sales. So check this story out. This is quite interesting. Robert Kiyosaki said his rich dad was his best friend's dad. And he said one of the things his rich dad told him, he said, you need to learn how to sell because you're selling every day. So he went to work at IBM, even though his buddy said he was crazy to go work at IBM just to do a sales job. Well, Robert Kiyosaki's gone on to amass millions and millions of properties, probably millions and millions of dollars, and tens of thousands of properties between him and his wife, Kim. His dad, on the other hand, lost his job as an educator. In fact, he was, and I can't remember what office he was running for. I think it was the Attorney General of, not the Attorney General, the head of the Department of Education or something for the state of Hawaii. And it was an elected position that he was going up against, and he lost to the other politician. Well, he lost his job when he didn't win that seat. Well, he ended up having to go to work for something else, and what he did is he bought a franchise. It was an ice cream franchise. And when he bought the ice cream franchise, he knew nothing about sales because he never studied it. He thought his PhD would get him where he needed to be, and Robert Kiyosaki's poor dad died bankrupt. And that's a sad story, and it comes down to really a lot of it being in sales. Now, I kind of am guessing why he lost his political race, because what's probably the one most important skill set if you're going to be a politician? If you're going to be a politician, a senator, a representative, and you got to go into elections all the time, you've got to learn how to sell. Sell your ideas, sell your point, sell your thought process. It's all about sales. We talk about it. I've talked about it, like I said, on every Facebook Live, and you do that by asking the right questions. You make sure that your customers are getting the product that they want by the questions that you ask. And sometimes your product isn't what they want. If I'm talking to Matt and I'm asking him what kind of phone he wants, what kind does he want, a big screen, a small screen? And he goes through all the different things. And he says, the only kind of phone I want, though, I don't like Apple products. I want to get a different Samsung or something like that. Now, guess what? Hey, Mr. Alan Lee, how are you doing? I still like it. If you don't, people hate talking to the life insurance guy, but when they need it, it's one of the most important things out there. So, Alan, good to see you, my friend. I believe I even gave you a Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, if I'm not mistaken, Alan, or maybe one of the other Kiyosaki books. And so the thing that we really need to understand here, though, is that sometimes you don't have the product that they want, and that's okay. But as long as you treat people with integrity, you treat them with respect, the next time they need something, they're either going to come see you, or what's the better question to ask? Matt, you don't like Samsung. Does anybody in your family like an iPhone? Does anybody in your family like Apple products? And he says, yeah, my wife thinks Apple products are the best. Well, you tell your wife if she ever wants to get a good phone, be happy to help her out. So I think, Mr. Earls, how are you, sir? I think we need to understand we're always selling, we're always planting those seeds. So I really find it cool, Oh, Alan, I think I was down in Orlando, we had that conversation, Alan, if I'm not mistaken. And so, and I know inevitably somebody's going to say, Pip, how do you remember that stuff? You pay attention and you take complete inventory in the people that you're talking to. And when I say inventory, I shouldn't even use that word because it sounds pretty cold. Because what you're doing is you're caring about people. You're asking them questions. You get to know them. Remember what this whole title was tonight, Ask Questions. I want to know where you're from. I want to know, what do you do for a living? I want to know how I can help you get what you want in life. And so that's really what it comes down to, is how do you keep doing that? You ask questions. And I've said this multiple times, good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you're listening twice as much as you talk, people are going to give you information. They're going to tell you what they want, and they're even going to tell you how they want you to sell them. We'll talk more about that on personalities, because people will tell you how they want to be sold by the way they answer questions and the questions they ask. That will be what we talk about on our next Facebook Live. We talked about asking questions tonight. We're going to talk about what kind of questions do we ask, different types. I met you in New York, but I think we talked about your book down in Orlando when you were at one of the symposiums. I could be wrong, Alan. I know I met you in New York City. But anyway, the point is, when we talk about asking the right questions, we want to know, based on the way you talk to me is the way I'm going to ask you specific questions, because there are key words that we need to understand, because an analytical person will ask questions that are based on numbers. And we're going to get into how a driver will ask questions and right on down the line. And you will know how to ask them the right questions based on the way they talk. 2 ears, 1 mouth, you're going to be all right. So last thing I'm going to say tonight, I know it's going to be a shorter one tonight, and I know everybody all my business partners are going to say that's the shortest Facebook Live video you've done. Linda Dana, oh my gosh, she was a former mentor with me years ago. Linda, hope you're doing well. And so, yeah, I thought, Alan, we were in a hotel down in Orlando the last time I saw you. I just remember being in Florida for some reason. But yeah, I remember meeting you in New York City. So, Linda Dana, I haven't talked to you in forever. Christy, you're on here all the time. You were awesome. Totally appreciate you guys being on these. Please do me a favor. We have our summit coming up October 23rd, 24th, 25th. Inevitably, somebody's going to say, Pip, how do I get information on that? What I'm going to do, and I don't know if I can multitask in here, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to type in BurbankSummit.com. I know a number of you guys that are already on here are coming already to it, and I think that might even bring up a bit of another link, but you should be able to get there with BurbankSummit.com. See, there it goes in the chat box. If you see that, it comes up there. And so we're going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about communication and how it works in every day, in every ways, in everyone's life. I know I get this question: who should be going to this? Is it specific for anybody? It is for anybody that wants to improve their communication skills. If you're a father, if you're a spouse, a significant other, you will learn stuff that will help you just in your everyday life. Because we're going to talk about the personalities. We're going to talk about if your spouse or your kids are a certain type of personality. There's a certain way to reach those types of personalities. And you can do it with the questions you ask. You got to ask the right questions if somebody's an analytical versus questions for somebody who's a driver. Different questions because they respond differently. Let me give you this thought process, and I'm probably going to go on too long here because I get off on tangents, but I see more people on here, so I always keep going. I would do presentations in ballrooms, and there'd be, on average, let's say 50 to 70 people in a room. And generally, the visual people would sit at the front. The visual people would sit at the front. The people that were more on the auditory would sit in the middle. And the people that were more your touchy-feely types would sit in the back of the room. And that's just the way people tend to sit. Visual people need to be up front. They're generally the drivers because they always are competitive. Analytical people, the ones that listen and they hear a lot of stuff, they're going to sit in the middle generally. It's just the way it is. And they call it kinesthetic. And I know how to spell all these words, and I'm definitely not going to try. Those are the people that are more the feeling type. How does this make you feel? So somebody who's kinesthetic, how does it make you feel? Somebody who's more analytical, can you hear what I'm saying on that? Do you hear what that is? Somebody who's more of the driver, can you see what I'm talking about? That's how they respond. We're going to talk about that in more depth on tomorrow's Facebook Live. So the summit, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, pretty much last chance. We're Tuesday evening? So you've basically got one more day to get signed up for that. I'd love to see all of you guys. I've said it multiple times. I'm going to say it again. And this is what sales is all about. I'm going to keep giving all kinds of value, but that's going to take things to a whole nother level, obviously. 3 days, it's $100, 100% money back guarantee. I know some of you guys that are on here are going to be at that. If you have any questions, just click on that summit link there. If you don't, if you have any other questions that you don't see on there, just message me on the messenger. Be happy to answer anything. I've had a number of people message me on the messenger. Or if you have my email, you can send me an email. I'll answer any questions you got. Love to see you there Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week, 12 to 5 Eastern time, three, and I know I was going to say 3 full days. You're going to say that's not full days. Well, we're going to start early and we're going to end late. That's just the way we go. It's kind of like these Facebook Live calls. These Facebook Live videos. I'm thinking they're going to be 15 minutes, and this is going to be the shortest one I have, and it's going to be 25. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, October 23rd through the 25th, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Plain and simple. I'm going to have a good time whether you do or not. That's the way I look at it. So tomorrow we're going to talk about tomorrow's Wednesday, right? So we're going to talk about the personality types a little bit. We'll get a little bit more into that. That's a pretty deep concept. We're going to get into that and I'll have a lot more fun with that. We'll get into that tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll talk more about the personalities and the way you ask questions to specific people. We're going to have some fun with it as we go through it. So not sure exactly what time it's going to be. It's going to be definitely earlier in the day than it is today. We'll probably go around noon or 1 o'clock again. Once again, don't forget to go to the Facebook or to the BurbankSummit.com if you want more information about that. Love to see you. Remember, turn to somebody you like, somebody you don't like, somebody you met, somebody you never met before, and tell them you're going to be all right. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk with you soon.